Most people think the Great Wall of China was built to stop an army. They're wrong. Yes, there were enemies from the north. Yes, there were thousands of soldiers on horseback threatening the empire. But the man who ordered this wall wasn't just afraid of soldiers. He was afraid of something far older, far darker, something that no army, no weapon, and no emperor had ever been able to defeat. Music cuts, silence, a single torch flickers. He was afraid of the gods. And he believed, with every bone in his body, that if he built this wall long enough, wide enough, powerful enough, even the heavens could not touch him. This is the story of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, the man who unified a nation, commanded millions, and then spent the rest of his life running from death itself. In 221 BC, something happened that no one believed was possible. For over 500 years, China had been a continent of chaos. 7 kingdoms, 7 rulers, endless war, endless bloodshed, generation after generation, fathers dying, sons dying, no end in sight. And then, one man ended all of it. His name was Ying Zheng, born in 259 BC, and by the age of 38, he had done what no human being before him had ever accomplished. He conquered every single warring state and declared himself the ruler of all of China. He didn't call himself a king. Kings were ordinary. He invented a brand new title, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, and he meant it literally. He declared that his dynasty would last 10,000 generations, that his sons and their sons and their sons after that would rule forever. He standardized the currency, the writing system, the weights and measurements. He built roads connecting the entire empire. He commanded an army of hundreds of thousands. By every measure, this man was unstoppable. But here's the thing about men who conquer everything. Eventually, they run out of enemies on Earth, and that's when they start looking up. In 215 BC, Qin Shi Huang received a message that shook him to his core. His most trusted alchemist, a man named Lu Sheng, had returned from a failed mission to find the elixir of immortality. And instead of the potion the emperor wanted, Lu Sheng brought back an ancient, mysterious text containing a chilling prophecy. The Hu will destroy Qin. 4 words, that's all it said. Now, most of his advisors believed Hu referred to the Xiongnu, the fierce nomadic warriors who roamed the northern steppes, raiding Chinese villages and disappearing like ghosts back into the grasslands. The emperor took no chances. He immediately dispatched his greatest general, Meng Tian, with an army of 300,000 soldiers to push the Xiongnu back. And then, he ordered something even more extraordinary. He commanded that all the scattered border walls across his empire be connected into one single, massive, continuous barrier, a wall that would stretch thousands of miles, a wall that would require the forced labor of over 700,000 workers, soldiers, peasants, criminals, and scholars. A wall so enormous it would become one of the greatest construction projects in human history. But here's the question nobody asks. Why did a man with 300,000 soldiers also need a wall? Was he really just afraid of nomads on horses? Or was the prophecy about something else entirely? You have to understand something about Qin Shi Huang that the history books often gloss over. This man was terrified, not of armies, not of rebellion, not even of assassination, though there were at least 3 attempts on his life. He was terrified of death itself. And in his mind, death wasn't just biology. Death was supernatural. Death was controlled by divine forces, by gods, by spirits, by cosmic powers that operated beyond the reach of any emperor. He slept in a different room every night, so spirits couldn't find him. He built secret passages between his palaces, so no unseen force could track his movements. He kept even his closest ministers in the dark about his location. And he became obsessed, completely, utterly obsessed, with finding a way to cheat death. He employed an army of men called fengshi, masters of alchemy, astrology, and the supernatural, whose only job was to find him the elixir of immortality. Alchemists told him of 3 sacred mountains rising from the East China Sea, Penglai, Fengjiang, and Yingzhou, divine islands where immortal beings lived, and where the elixir of life was said to be hidden. In 219 BC, he sent an alchemist named Zhu Fu on a fleet of ships, with 3,000 young men and women and enough resources to supply an army, to find these divine islands, to bring back the elixir, to conquer death. Xu Fu never came back. He likely settled somewhere far away, possibly in what is now Japan, because he knew returning without the potion meant execution. But other alchemists stayed, and they had a different idea. Mercury. They told the emperor that mercury, a metal so strange it flowed like water at room temperature, was the essence of immortality. Surely something so supernatural could grant supernatural life. So Qin Shi Huang drank mercury pills day after day. Month after month, the man who feared the gods was slowly, quietly poisoning himself. Now here's where it gets truly fascinating. In ancient Chinese belief, walls weren't just physical structures. They were spiritual boundaries. The Chinese believed in a universe teeming with invisible forces, spirits, demons, celestial powers moving through the natural world. And a wall, if built correctly with the right rituals, the right intentions, could serve as a barrier not just for armies, but for supernatural forces as well. Qin Shi Huang understood this. The wall he built wasn't just military engineering, it was a cosmic statement. In legend, the wall's winding path across the mountains was said to mirror the form of a dragon, the most powerful divine creature in Chinese mythology, a symbol of imperial authority and celestial protection. By building the wall in the shape of a dragon, the emperor wasn't just defending his borders. He was claiming divine power. He was telling the gods, the spirits, the forces of chaos, "This empire is under my protection. You cannot enter here." And the human cost of this vision was staggering. Workers died by the hundreds of thousands. Some legends say their bones were ground into the mortar of the wall itself. The most famous story is that of Meng Jiangnu, a woman whose husband was taken to build the wall. He died there, buried somewhere beneath the stones. When she arrived to mourn him and bring him warm clothes for winter, her grief was so powerful, so pure, that she wept until an entire section of the wall collapsed, revealing her husband's bones. The story became one of the most beloved and repeated legends in Chinese history, because it captured something true, that this wall was built not just with stone and labor, but with sorrow. And yet, the wall rose, mile by mile, mountain by mountain, a monument to one man's terror, one man's ambition, one man's war against heaven itself. Mausoleum visuals, terracotta warriors, mercury readings. Here is the greatest irony in all of Chinese history. The emperor who feared death more than any man who ever lived died at 49. Qin Shi Huang collapsed on a royal tour in 210 BC. His body was carried back to his capital. But the journey took so long in the summer heat that his ministers began packing salted fish in the wagons alongside the imperial carriage to mask the smell of decay. Even in death, they were hiding the truth from him. He was buried in a tomb that took 700,000 workers, the same number who built the wall, over 36 years to construct. Inside, rivers of flowing mercury, recreating the rivers and seas of China in miniature. Crossbow booby traps to protect him in the afterlife. Palaces, treasures, and guarding the entrance, 6,000 terracotta soldiers, life-sized, each one uniquely crafted, standing in formation to defend their emperor even after death. Modern scientists have tested the soil above his tomb. Mercury vapor still leaks from the ground. The rivers of quicksilver may still be flowing inside, driven by a slow chemical reaction that has outlasted every dynasty he ever feared. He wanted to live forever. He never made it past 49. But that tomb, that wall, those terracotta soldiers, they have lasted 2,200 years. And maybe, in the only way that actually matters, he got exactly what he wanted. The Great Wall of China still stands today, stretching across mountains, deserts, and plains for thousands of miles. Tourists walk it, historians study it, governments protect it. But when you stand on that wall and look out over the horizon, remember what it really was. It wasn't just a defense against armies. It was one man's attempt to hold the universe at bay. To say to death, to fate, to the gods themselves, "Not here, not me, not yet." The gods apparently disagreed. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, is gone. But the wall is still here. If you want more stories about history's most powerful, most obsessed, and most fascinating rulers, subscribe. A new story drops every week. On-screen comment prompt: do you think Qin Shi Huang was a genius or a madman? Comment below.